The truck rocks as it comes to a stop. I slam the shifter into park and stare out the windshield, looking up toward the dark treetops. Night sounds emanate from the surrounding forest, flowing into the truck through the open windows. "Where is it?" I ask. "I lost it," Talavera says from the passenger seat, still clutching the specially made spear gun in his hands. "Redmond, you see any sign of it over there?" I ask. "Nope," Redmond says in my ear. "You guys had it last. Must be over there somewhere. Watch your ass." "Damn," I say, looking out at the fallen tree across the road. We won't be going any farther in the truck. "What do we do?" Talavera asks. "What do you think?" I say, recognizing a teaching moment when I see one. Talavera, a 24-year-old dark-haired man with the patience of a monk, sets the spear gun across his thighs. He reaches into the back and retrieves a pair of night vision goggles. I shake my head. "What happens when it lights up? We'd go blind." "Oh, right," he says, looking defeated. There's a loud fluttering sound from outside, and the forest brightens as if someone turned a spotlight on. Squinting, I look up through the windshield and see the creature fly over us, its giant glowing abdomen fading from sun-bright to moon-bright before it goes completely dark again. I grab the spear gun from Talavera's lap and lean out my open window with it. I can no longer see the creature because it's not glowing anymore, and my night vision is momentarily gone. But I pray it's flying in a straight line as I pull the trigger. The spear shoots out of the weapon, trailing the thin, high-tensile line out behind it. I wait, holding my breath. Then there's a loud screech from the creature. "Got it!" I say, already climbing out the window. I'm no longer as quick or limber as I once was, and I lose my grip on the top of the truck, tumbling out and slamming the back of my shoulders and head into the dirt road. "You okay, Goggins?" Talavera asks, shifting over into the driver's seat. "I'm fine," I say, getting to my feet. The line is still coming out from my weapon, and if I don't get the end of it secured, we might lose the creature in the forest. I clamber into the truck bed. "Get ready to reverse when I say." "Got it." I work the two levers, detaching the line reeling mechanism from the weapon. I drop the gun portion and then take the loop from the end of the line and cinch it around the hook in the middle of the truck bed. Redmond installed the hook himself, attaching it to the truck's frame for this very purpose. As the line continues to go out, I open the metal toolbox in the truck bed and pull out a semi-automatic rifle. "Reverse! Reverse!" I call out, sitting down next to the hook just as the wire goes taut. The truck lurches forward as the creature yanks on the line. We nearly go slamming into the fallen tree, but Talavera hits the gas in time and the wheels dig in. We move backwards a few feet, playing tug-of-war with the massive creature. Its abdomen lights up again, and I spot the thing about 100 yards away near the distant treetops. Its wings beat at the air, and it screeches as it tries to free itself. Come on, you big bastard," I say, aiming through my red dot sights. It's moving around too much, so I don't waste my ammo. Not yet. "We're heading to you," Redmond says over the radio, having heard all the commotion thus far. "It's gonna be over by the time you get here," I growl. The creature's abdomen has been lit constantly for the last several moments. I'm guessing because it's pissed off and injured. The truck has reversed about 20 feet from the fallen tree as Talavera keeps his foot on the gas, fighting the creature. Suddenly, the line goes slack and the truck lurches backward. "Stop!" I shout, even as I see the creature swooping toward us in the sky. Talavera doesn't stop. He keeps reversing, making it harder for me to get a bead on the creature. But the thing is getting closer. Its multi-segmented mouth opens as it produces another screech. The hardest steel mouth segments are long and sharp, and there's 4 of them, a large one on top and 3 smaller ones on the bottom. It's almost as if the scientists who made it watched the movie Tremors and decided they wanted that head on a giant firefly. And then they added a dash of scorpion or crab, giving the damn thing pincers. "Stop the truck!" I shout again as the creature closes the distance. Finally, Talavera hears me. He slams on the brakes. I go sliding back on my butt, hitting the tailgate with my back. A jolt of pain runs up and down my spine. The creature lands on top of the truck cab with a shuddering thud. Wincing and barely recovered from my impact with the back of the truck, I raise my weapon and fire twice. The creature snaps its mouth shut, and the rounds careen off its protective armor. It reaches out for my neck with one huge pincer. At the last moment, I slid down and out of the way. The pincer snapped where my head was just a moment ago. From my lying position, I aim at one of its 8 spider-like eyes and fire more shots. The rounds puncture a few of its eyes, and it rears up, opening its mouth and screeching again. But because it's looking skyward, I have no shot into its mouth, where the scientists said it's most vulnerable. I have to squint as its abdomen lights up as bright as the sun, washing all the color out of the world. Afraid I'll accidentally hit Talavera in the cab, I stop firing for a moment, looking through slitted eyes from a half-turned head to keep an eye on the thing as best I can. It stops screeching and jumps down into the bed of the truck, its abdomen still blindingly bright. I have no choice but to keep firing at it.
Talavera, Doc!
I shout just before I fire at its remaining eyes. The now blind creature screeches again, this time with its mouth pointed toward me. I smile and think, gotcha now, you ugly son of a bitch. But when I pull the trigger, only one round fires into the mouth before my rifle clicks empty. It's not enough. All I've done is pissed the thing off. And I suddenly see, as the creature looms over me, that the scientists put a little xenomorph into this thing. I feel like Ripley as a pair of glistening jaws protrude from inside the thing's mouth. Needle-like teeth shimmer with foul-smelling goop as it reaches for my fragile, and I would say handsome, face.
Not the face.
I say, trying to press myself into and through the bed of the truck.
Anywhere but the base. I want an open casket funeral.
I blink on reflex as something rips through the second set of jaws, destroying the needle teeth. This time, the creature doesn't screech. It doesn't have time, because a second projectile rips through its mouth and blasts out the back of its insectile head, allowing me to see, for the briefest of moments, the light from its abdomen through the hole in its head. As the sound of the 2 shots finally reaches me, one right after the other, the creature collapses on me. That awful goop, along with some other foul-smelling liquid, pours onto me as I squirm, trying to push the heavy thing off me. The light from its abdomen fades quickly, plunging the area back into darkness, except for the backsplash of light from the headlights.
Get this thing off of me!
I shout. Behind my head, the tailgate opens and Talavera reaches in, grabbing me in the armpits and pulling me out.
You okay?
I ask as he helps steady me on arthritic joints that will be screaming at me after the adrenaline wears off.
I'm good,
Talavera says.
Thanks.
I wipe the goop off me as best I can while we stand behind the truck, looking at the dead creature. After a few moments, headlights appear behind us. We both turn as Redmond and Cass arrive in the other truck. Redmond leaves the truck running as he steps out, putting his ubiquitous cowboy hat on as he exits the truck. He's a cowboy through and through, and he has the bow-legged walk to prove it. He wears a plaid shirt, jeans, and cowboy boots. Slinging his .50 caliber rifle over his shoulder with one hand, he digs a cigarette out of the soft pack in his breast pocket with the other. He has the thing lit and is exhaling smoke by the time he reaches us. There is a smile on his rough face.
Thought I told you to watch your ass.
Cass approaches a moment later with her own .50 cal slung over her shoulder. She doesn't dress like a cowgirl, although I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if she started to one day. She wears joggers and hiking shoes, along with a hoodie. The front pocket is heavy with ammo for her rifle.
Guess I owe you two some thanks,
I say.
We took those shots from way back through some trees,
Cass says, out of breath with excitement.
It was a miracle we could even see you from that far. They were great shots,
I say.
Saved my ass. Ain't the first time, won't be the last,
Redmond says.
I don't think we're even quite yet,
I tell him. We've been keeping tally, and I'm still ahead by 1, as far as I can remember.
By the time we finally retire, we'll be even,
Redmond says with confidence, puffing on his cigarette. I nod solemnly, not wanting to think about that.
Well, I stink like the porta potties in hell, so let's get this thing back to those idiots so I can get a shower.
We pull up to the gate of the research facility, which is disguised as a power plant. It doesn't take long for us to get through security. We've been expected. We're directed down to an underground loading bay, where I reverse the truck and pull up to the place indicated. Several men and women mull about, looking expectantly at us. As usual, Cass and Redmond stay on their truck nearby, ready in case anything goes down. We've never had problems with any clients in the past, but that doesn't mean we never will. It pays to be prepared for these things. Talavera and I get out and remove the tarp we put over the dead creature in the back, revealing it to the small crowd.
You killed it?
One man in a white dress shirt and red tie asks, sounding on the verge of tears.
I told you when you hired us, there was an 80% chance we wouldn't bring it back alive,
I said to the guy.
You remember that?
He doesn't acknowledge me. He just stares at the dead creature.
All that work. Yeah, well, maybe next time. Don't let all that work escape. Then you wouldn't have to hire someone like me.
An ex-military looking guy comes down from the loading bay and offers to shake my hand.
I wouldn't shake it.
I say.
I got that thing's insides all over me.
The guy retracts his hand. The whiny scientist starts sobbing.
About the payment,
I say.
Yes, of course,
the military guy says, gesturing to a woman with a tablet. Once I see the payment and my account, and a forklift has gotten the creature out of the truck bed, we head back to the hotel. I get into the shower, savoring the feel of the hot water on my skin. When I get out, I look at the bruises forming on my back from when I slammed into the tailgate. Then I lean on the counter and stare at myself, wondering when exactly my skin got so loose and wrinkly. I'm no spring chicken anymore, and Redmond's right. We need to retire. But god damn it, the thought of retiring feels like a death sentence to me. Maybe I should have let that thing snip my head off with its pincers. Stupid thought, I tell myself. I could no more have let that happen than I could stop flinching from a ball thrown at my face. It was automatic. But I'm afraid of what I'll do when I lose my purpose and retire. Letting some bizarre creature kill you is not the same as putting a gun in your mouth. There's a pounding on my hotel room door, and I answer it in my towel. Talavera stands in the hallway.
We've got another call,
He says.
and this one sounds really weird.
Want me to drive for a bit?
Cass asks from the front passenger seat of the RV. No, I'm good, I say, even though I'm exhausted. Cass shrugs and leans back in her seat, closing her eyes again. Talavera is lying on the couch in the back of the RV, directly behind my seat. I can hear him snoring. We only have another 2 hours before we get there. I didn't get any sleep because we left the hotel immediately for this next call. Cass tried to convince me to not take this one, but I can't find it in me to turn work down, especially a case as weird as this one. I look out the windshield at the truck Redmond is driving ahead of us. The other truck is hooked up to the back of the RV. This is usually how we travel around the country. Most of the secret labs we work for are in a fairly small radius in the Montana, Wyoming, North Dakota, and South Dakota area. It's probably a good thing, because they are not very populated areas. Our last job, where I nearly lost my head, was in Montana. Now, we're heading for Wyoming. They wouldn't tell us much on the phone, but they said that they already had people out looking for the thing, and they only wanted us as backup. When we're in a time crunch, we sometimes take private planes, usually on the client's dime, but they said that wouldn't be necessary. They also said that the creature that escaped their lab is unique because it can cause hallucinations. When I pressed the guy on this, he said they would give us a full rundown when we arrived, and it looks like we will get there around 7 a.m. The steady hum of the engine and the constantly passing lines on the road lull me into a relaxed state. That, and the fact that I haven't slept at all. I shake my head, trying to wake up. My thoughts drift to Redmond and the way he's been acting lately. The only time he seems like himself is when we're actively chasing down a creature. Otherwise, he's sullen and silent, at least more so than usual, which is saying a lot because he's a regular stoic most of the time. I can see the smoke billowing out the window of the truck ahead. He's been chain smoking, which is never a good sign for him. It means something's bothering him. Every time I've asked him about it, he's deflected, and he's damn good at that. If he were a goalie, he would be the best one to ever live. My thoughts drift again. The RV hums. Talavera snores. I feel my eyelids getting heavier. I jerk up as the tires run over the rumble strip on the side of the road, only now realizing that I dozed off for a moment. Cass is up now, looking over at me.
Let me drive,
She says.
Let her drive, Wes.
Talavera says, clearly awake now. Grumbling but knowing they're right, I flash Redmond 3 times to let him know I want to pull over. It doesn't take long to find a place to pull over next to a field. Redmond gets out to take a leak, and Talavera does the same while Cass and I switch seats. I can see Redmond and Talavera in a conversation, mostly one-sided, but I can't hear what's being said. A minute later, we're back on the road again. This time, Talavera sits between the 2 front seats.
What did he say to you?
I asked Talavera about his conversation with Redmond.
What do you think he said? Watch your ass.
Cass, Talavera, and I have a good laugh at that one. Once the laughter dies down, Talavera speaks without a hint of humor in his voice.
Have you figured out what's up with him yet?
I shake my head.
What about you?
He asks Cass. She snorts.
He probably talks to me less than he talks to you guys, and I'm with him twice as much.
Well, if you can't get him to open up, I don't think I'll be able to, I tell Cass.
You've known him for much longer than me.
Yeah, but he's always had a soft spot for you, I tell her.
Could have fooled me.
Cass says. Believe me, I tell her. Even if he doesn't tell you, he does love you in his own way. Cass and Talavera are silent for a long time. The miles pass under our tires. Of course, now that I'm not driving, I'm wide awake. I think about the time Redmond and I came across Cass and Talavera during one of our jobs in Death Valley. They were just a couple of kids, 16 and 17. We weren't supposed to see them. One of the lab employees opened a door at the wrong time, and I saw them in a couple of cages in a dingy room. I pretended like I didn't see them until I could pull Redmond aside and tell him about it. To his credit, he didn't ask questions. He just said, "Well, let's get them the hell out of there." We had to do some serious damage to the lab employees and security officers to get them out, but we did it. Apparently, the higher-ups didn't know that the subcontractors who ran the lab were using humans in their tests. Or at least, that's what they told us. They covered everything up and didn't press charges, knowing if they did, we would blow the whole thing wide open. Redmond and I looked after the kids for a couple of years before trying to set them up so they could live their own lives. But by then, we were like family, and they didn't want to leave. We let them stay and eventually started showing them the ropes. They've been valuable additions, especially since Redmond and I are both old men now, and we won't be able to do this much longer, even if we wanted to. Now, as we cross over into Wyoming, Cass speaks for the first time in about 20 minutes.
He would tell us if he was dying, right? I mean, he's been smoking a pack a day since I met him. That's going to catch up with him one day. Maybe he got some bad news the last time we were at home.
I open my mouth to say, of course Redmond would tell us, but it would be a lie. In fact, not telling us is exactly the kind of thing he would do. I don't know, I say finally. He might keep it to himself until he can't hide it any longer. That generates another 20 minutes of silence from Cass and Talavera. I lean my head against my back seat and try to sleep, but the sun is already coming up. Before I know it, we're at the lab. The first thing I notice about Dr. Mazur is his hands are soft and his nails have been bitten down to the nub. He's a good 10 years younger than me, although much grayer than I am. Then again, he has more hair than me, which means more to go gray. Mumbling, he leads us down the hall of the underground lab attached to the Buffalo Bill Dam in western Wyoming. All the secret labs are attached to or disguised as dams, power stations, or heavily guarded warehouses of some kind. But this is one we've never worked with before, one we've never even heard of, which is saying something. Redmond and I have been in the business for a long time, and we thought we knew all the labs. Dr. Mazur ushers us into a small room with a table in the middle and a whiteboard on one wall. Without asking, everyone but Mazur takes a seat. The good doctor paces for a moment, chewing absently on a fingernail. Redmond clears his throat, and Mazur looks up.
Right,
He says. His rodent-like eyes darted around at our faces.
here's the thing. I just heard that our recovery team didn't make it.
Didn't make it?
I ask.
They're dead?
That's right.
Mazur says.
I think you better cut to the chase and tell us what we're dealing with here.
Redmond says.
I understand you people have been doing this for a long time, but I highly doubt you've ever come across anything like this. What we've created is we call it an insanity bug.
I roll my eyes. Doctors always think the creatures they've created are the most crazy, badass, insane things ever. But if they were, I wouldn't still be sitting here drawing in a breath.
So what?
Cass asks.
It drives people insane?
Not permanently. At least not for most people. But yes, it causes hallucinations in a certain radius.
What's the radius?
I ask.
A circle about a half-mile in diameter.
Mazur says, a certain fatherly proudness coming into his voice.
Half a mile?
Talavera says.
Damn. And what kind of hallucinations are we talking about here? Like pink elephants and tracers and shit? Oh no.
Mazur says, face growing drawn again.
It's different for everyone, but it's not like taking a drug. It's much more real than that. It preys on your weaknesses and makes you do things.
Like what kinds of things?
I ask.
It makes you kill your colleagues.
As Mazur says this, he looks at his hands as if they're covered in blood.
Is that what happened?
I ask.
Did you kill your colleagues? Is that how it got out?
Mazur drops his hands and looks at me.
We have a way to combat the hallucinations, but it's not designed to be mobile.
What is it?
It's a series of devices that emit electrical waves, brain waves, that combat the insanity bug's ability to cause hallucinations.
A series?
I ask.
How many are there?
3 of them. I have a team working to make them mobile right now. As long as you keep them with you, the bug won't be able to affect your minds. But all 3 of them have to be on. Otherwise, their power is diluted.
What's the radius on these devices? How close to them do we have to be?
Within 20 yards,
He says. Redmond and I share a look.
And do you have any way to tell where the insanity bug, as you call it, is?
I ask him.
Does it have a tracker?
He nods.
It does have a tracker.
How big is this thing? Is it really a bug?
Redmond asks.
It is a bug,
Mazur says.
but it's a large one. Have you ever seen a scorpion fly? Oh, those things are crazy looking.
Talavera says with a shiver.
Totally harmless, though.
Cass says.
I assure you, this one isn't totally harmless.
Mazur puts forth.
And it's about the size of a large dog. Why do you guys always make your creations look so damn creepy?
Talavera asks rhetorically.
And why insects all the time? What's with that?
Mazur doesn't answer, and he just starts chewing on a fingernail.
Give us the electrical wave generators and a tracker.
Redmond says, standing up.
We'll handle the rest.
We might need air support.
Redmond says over the radio.
This goddamn thing keeps moving west, like it knows we're coming. You guys better watch your ass with this one.
We're back in the trucks, speeding down Highway 20, having left the RV back at the lab. The sun is now high in the sky behind us, the morning in full swing. Craggy mountains border the road at a distance on both sides, creating a broad valley as we head west.
I'll see what I can do.
Dr. Mazur says over the radio. We've given him an earpiece so he can help us out if we need it. West, I say, sitting in the passenger seat while Talavera drives. I have my massive mug filled with coffee from the lab, and I drink it as fast as I can. I need my wits about me for this one.
Isn't there something west of here? Something important? Oh shit!
Talavera says, eyes wide.
Yellowstone National Park!
Oh, fuck me.
Redmond says over the radio.
There's probably thousands of people there this time of year.
Just how smart is this thing?
I ask.
Could it be heading to Yellowstone on purpose?
There's radio silence for a few long moments.
Masher, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
He says.
And the answer is yes. We hoped to engineer it so it would only target certain individuals, but we haven't quite done that yet. What we have done is make it so it targets people, especially large groups. Why the hell didn't you tell us this before?
Cass asks over the radio, sounding more like Redmond than she probably realizes.
I'm sorry. I didn't think it would. I thought our team would be able to take care of it.
But you sent them out without the brainwave emitters or whatever they are, didn't you?
I ask.
They weren't ready yet.
Masher says.
We had no choice. You sent them out to get slaughtered to buy some time.
Redmond growls.
Yet you told us a plane wasn't necessary. We could have been here within half the time if you had only sprung for a private plane. But the dollar counters probably wouldn't let you, would they? Goddamn greedy motherfuckers. Now people are going to get killed.
Masher doesn't answer, but I think I hear him sobbing. Just what we needed.
Wait, it stopped!
Talavera says, pointing to his phone. We're using an encrypted app made by the lab to track the thing, and we each have it downloaded onto our phones. But since Talavera is driving, his phone is the one in the little holder. I pull my phone out and zoom in, seeing that he's right. The little red dot that represents the creature has stopped. But my stomach drops when I see where it stopped. It's a place called the Pahaska TP Resort, and it's just a couple of miles up the road. I glance over at the speedometer and see we're doing 85, but I can see Redmond's truck slowing ahead because we're coming up on another vehicle on the 2-lane highway.
We need to hurry,
I say over the radio.
It stopped at a resort. God knows what's happening there right now.
I noticed.
Redmond says, swerving around the van up ahead once the oncoming lane is clear. Talavera does the same, and soon we're doing 100 miles an hour.
I'm turning the brain protector on,
I say. It's easier than saying electrical wave emitters or whatever Masher called them. I unbuckle and turn in my seat, reaching back to the 3 devices that look like mid-sized speakers for a concert. I flip them on, along with the portable battery device they're attached to with black cords. When I sit back in my seat, I set my watch and say,
We've got 15 minutes before we have to switch the battery.
They gave us 2 battery packs, giving us 30 minutes total before we're shit out of luck. Hopefully we can find a way to charge one battery pack while we use the other one. I've got a charger in the truck, but it'll take forever to charge them back up without a wall outlet.
Okay, they're on,
I say.
Stay within 20 yards of our truck and watch your backs. There's no telling what people will do under the influence of this thing. But the primary goal is to find it and destroy it.
Doc said the tracker should be good to within 30 feet, so keep a lookout.
Cass says. We round a bend in the road and bring the resort into view. It's a collection of log cabin-style buildings of various sizes on a flat property dotted with pine trees. Small, tree-covered mountains provide the backdrop for the quaint getaway just off the right side of the highway. But when we're still 100 yards off, I can see that some damage has already been done. There's a 2-story main building that I'm guessing houses the front desk and restaurant. A truck has been smashed into the front doors, and there's smoke billowing out from the back of the building. I see a figure standing on the top of the A-frame roof. It's a man, and he's covered in blood. When we're still a good 60 yards out, he throws himself off the roof and into the parking lot below, landing face first on the pavement. A glance at my phone shows me the creature is near the back of the property. We slow down just enough to turn into the resort, heading down through the paved parking lot and down a dirt road that leads to the cabins on the property. In his haste, Redmond gets ahead of us, going farther than 20 yards.
Keep up with him,
I say, knowing Redmond won't be the one to ease off when it's crunch time like this. Talavera puts his foot down and gets closer to the other truck while I gaze out the window. one hand on the rifle propped between my feet and the other on my phone. Dead bodies lie around the property, many of them mutilated. Screams and animalistic grunts sound from all around the property. We come upon a woman grimacing madly as she strangles a young boy next to one of the cabins. As we get within 20 yards, she suddenly stops, pulling her hands away from the crying child in shock. I turn to watch her as we pass. Her crazed grimace falls away as she looks around and cries out in anguish. When the truck is more than 20 yards away, she lunges back at the child and starts strangling him again, the sneer back on her face again. I think about taking a shot at her to save the boy, but it's too late for that. Besides, the kid would probably just kill himself a minute later. I shake my head and mutter,
Who could create such a monster?
of course, the answer is easy. Contractors working for the United States government. I'm sure there are similar programs in other developed countries around the world. The road dead ends next to a couple of cabins, and we come to a halt, all of us jumping out of our vehicles. Judging by the map on my phone, we should be right on top of the thing.
Where the hell is it?
Cass asks from up ahead. She's holding a semi-automatic rifle like mine, but Redmond has his .50 cal in hand, just in case the creature flies off and he has to take a long shot.
It should be here.
I say.
Talavera and Cass, look inside the cabins, but don't go any farther than that.
While the two young bloods go to the nearest cabin, Redmond and I scan the trees, looking for the thing. We go in opposite directions, staying within 20 yards of my truck so we don't go crazy. Soon, Talavera and Cass come out of the first cabin, looking ill but shaking their heads.
Not in there, just a massacred family.
Cass says as they move to the other one. The rev of an engine draws my attention, and I look over my shoulder to see a police SUV bearing down on me. I can see the cop through the windshield. He wears a crazed scowl just like the woman we passed. I'm right at the 20-yard mark from my truck, so I know the cop is under the influence of the creature that's still hiding around here somewhere. Instead of shooting, I jump out of the way, rolling painfully behind a tree just as the SUV passes. It's a dumb thing to do. I should have shot him. He's going so fast that the device doesn't have time to take effect, and he crashes right into the back of my truck, which slams into the back of Redmond's. The sound of rending metal and shattering glass seems to last a long time, but I soon realize that it's not the crash that's lasting a long time. It's in my head. The impact must have jarred the device, and now the hallucinations are starting. While I still have my right mind, I get up and sprint for the truck. Reconnecting the device is our only hope now. But as I close in, I start to lose myself as the creature invades my head. Blinding anger surges into my mind, screwing my face up into a tortured scowl. Before I realize what I'm doing, I raise my rifle and point it at Redmond on the other side of the wreck. I'm convinced he means to kill me. I can see his intentions clearly in my head, like I'm watching them on a screen. But Redmond isn't aiming his rifle at me. He's gripping his head in one hand, his rifle held in the other. Blinking, I shake my head, remembering what I was trying to do. The device! Get to the device! With some effort, I lower my rifle and resume my stumbling walk to the truck. As I get closer, the driver's door of the police SUV opens and a demon lurches out. As he looks at me, his black eyes grow into dark pools while his mouth stretches out underneath them. Its fangs extend and drip blood. I raise the rifle again, but the vision ebbs and the demon face is gone, replaced with a man's face. He's just a man, with blood leaking from a gash on his head. I try to dodge around the policeman to get to my truck, but he lunges for me, suddenly shouting. I smack him in the head with the butt of my rifle and get to the truck. The front and back took the brunt of the impacts, so I'm able to open the driver's side door and climb inside. In the back, I see that 2 of the 3 speaker-like components are still plugged into the battery. The impact threw them against the front seats and caused one of them to come unplugged. The device is still working, although at 2/3 capacity. I quickly plug the third one in and look at my watch. There's just over 8 minutes of battery power left. As I climb back out of the truck, I glance over and see Redmond scanning the area with his rifle.
You good?
I ask.
Almost shot you.
He says without looking at me.
Glad I didn't.
I realize I lost my phone. I must have dropped it when jumping out of the way of the speeding police SUV.
Is the beast still around?
I ask. Redmond looks at the ground, where I'm guessing his phone is.
Yeah, according to this stupid tracker, it's nearby. Should be right over there.
He points with his rifle to the woods east of the 2 cabins. I scan the area but see nothing. I'm distracted when a cabin door opens as Cass and Talavera come out, looking dazed.
That was close,
Cass says.
I've never felt anything like that before. I was so angry. Focus,
I say.
it's still out.
A gunshot sounds, and Talavera twitches, then collapses to the ground. I look toward the source of the shot and see a man with a hunting rifle about 60 yards behind us, back toward the front of the resort. Before I can decide what to do, Redmond's 50 cal booms out nearby, and a giant hole appears in the shooter's chest. I glance over at Redmond, who works the bolt to load another massive cartridge into the chamber.
We'd better hurry the hell up before I have to do that again.
I get over my shock and remember Talavera.
Cover us!
I shout, running over to join Cass, crouching next to the young man.
He got my lung.
Talavera whispers.
Let us see.
Cass says, gently pulling his hand away from the wound. We both look at it and then at each other as Cass clamps a hand down over the wound to prevent air from getting into his chest cavity and collapsing the lung.
It's on the move.
Redmond calls from nearby. Cass and I roll Talavera onto his injured side so gravity will help keep the lung from collapsing. I also feel for an exit wound. There is one just under his right shoulder blade.
It's going west.
Redmond calls.
Headed for Yellowstone, probably. We need to get going. What about that air support, Masher?
I ask. There's no answer.
Masher, you there?
Still no answer.
God damn it!
As I run over to the truck to grab a first aid kit, I see Redmond turning his truck around. The rear bumper is damaged, but otherwise it's in good shape. I get back over to Talavera and Cass, opening the first aid kit. Meanwhile, Redmond pulls up next to my truck and proceeds to load up the brainwave device. I'm taping a bandage to Talavera's exit wound when Redmond stops the truck nearby.
Let's go.
He says.
Cass, you take care of him. We'll call an ambulance. I'm not leaving him.
I say.
If we don't stop this thing, more people are gonna die.
Redmond says, lighting a cigarette and looking as calm as ever.
Go.
Cass says.
We got this. Tal will be all right. Isn't that right, Tal? Sure thing, Cass.
Talavera gasps.
Right as rain. Go. Stop that thing before it kills more people.
I look into Talavera's eyes for a long moment and then reach into his pocket and grab his phone. Then I gather up my rifle and jump into the truck with Redmond. He peels out before I can say a proper goodbye. Once I get the device plugged into the new battery, granting us another 15 minutes of immunity, I face forward in my seat and scan the sky for any sign of the thing. According to Talavera's phone, it should be straight ahead.
I see it!
I shout over the high hum of the truck engine, pointing out the windshield at the small dot in the distance. The creature is flying about 100 feet above the highway, heading due west. I set Talavera's phone down and lean out the window with my rifle, aiming through my red dot sight at the thing. I don't fire. It's too far away.
Go faster!
I say.
If we crash, all those people in Yellowstone are fucked!
Redmond says.
Maybe Kevin Costner can save them. Want to try shooting my 50?
Redmond asks. Before I can answer, Redmond swerves around a passenger van, nearly dumping me out the window.
Give me a little warning before you do that,
I say, still keeping the creature in my sights.
And I doubt even you could make this shot with your precious overkill rifle. Why don't you think it diverts?
Redmond asks, as we whip by a sedan going the opposite direction.
Why does it stay above the road?
I drop back into the vehicle, knowing I don't have a shot at it. Not unless we get closer. I think about Redmond's questions, and the answer comes to me as I see an approaching SUV suddenly swerve to straddle the center line on the 2-lane highway.
Never mind,
Redmond says.
I know why. Better hold on. It's trying to kill us,
I say.
It knows we're hunting it. It's smart. No shit.
Redmond has slowed down, but the SUV is barreling toward us, doing 80 or more. He lets the truck drift to the right, and we watch as the SUV moves, staying in front of us. The distance is closing now, and fast.
What are we doing?
I ask, bracing for impact. At the last moment, Redmond jerks the steering wheel to the left, and the SUV scrapes along the right side of the truck. Something hits me in the chest, and I close my eyes on reflex. I open them a moment later to see that we're still alive and still on the road. I look back to see the SUV rolling in the street, one of its passengers flying out a window like a rag doll. The side mirror is in my lap. That's what hit me in the chest as the SUV snapped it off and sent it through the open window. I toss the mirror into the back and say,
That was fucking close. I hate to tell you this, but I doubt we'll be able to do that again.
I look ahead and see another minivan bearing down on us, skirting the center line just like the SUV. Redmond turns and gazes at me for a moment. I know what I have to do, but I don't like it.
This is so fucked.
I climb up and lean out the window again. This time, I ignore the small dot in the sky that must be slightly less than a half-mile away. Instead, I aim at a front tire on the approaching van. I take the shot and miss.
You got this.
Redmond says.
Breathe.
The van is about 90 yards away now and closing fast. I notice that Redmond is speeding again, but I can't let it bother me. I need to focus. I squeeze the trigger again, and the tire explodes. The van swerves as the driver struggles to control the vehicle. Redmond maneuvers past it with relative ease. There's barely time to take a breath before I see a lifted truck speeding toward us.
We can't keep doing this,
I say.
It won't run out of vehicles, not before it gets to Yellowstone. Then it can just send waves of people at us. We'll have to kill dozens or hundreds before we can get to the thing. Either that, or just let it go.
Redmond grunts. We're in agreement, but I'm not hearing any bright ideas from him.
Just take care of this one. I got a plan,
he says. I aim at the lifted truck tire and take the shot. The tire deflates slightly, slowing the truck down, but it doesn't go flat. There's some kind of fancy anti-flat tires. We're getting close. If I don't do something, we're both dead.
God help me,
I say, shifting my aim up to the windshield.
Do it,
Redmond says. I fire 3 bullets through the windshield. Nothing happens for a moment. Then the truck swerves and careens off the road, flipping once before smashing into a pine tree as we pass.
Okay, what's your plan?
I say.
Get back in here and be ready to take over driving.
I pull myself back in, and I'm just getting situated again when Redmond slams on the brakes. For a second, I think the truck is going to flip forward from braking too hard, but it comes to a violent stop in the middle of the road. Before I know it, Redmond is out with his .50 cal. He jumps into the back and sets up for a shot, standing in the bed with his rifle propped on the roof.
This was your plan?
I ask, shifting into the driver's seat.
Stop moving,
he says. I stop. The truck stills. For a moment, there's only the wind and the smell of pine trees. I gaze out the windshield at the distant black dot in the sky. The whole truck rocks with the gunshot. I hear Redmond work the bolt, and I hear the clunk of the spent shell hitting the roof. Nothing happens to the small dot in the sky. It's still there. But there's movement on the road. Another vehicle is speeding toward us, an SUV. Now we're sitting ducks. We're easy targets. Redmond fires again.
Watch your ass! 12 o'clock!
He shouts, loading another cartridge into the chamber.
I see them,
I say, stepping out of the truck. The black dot is still in the sky. It's getting smaller. I crouch next to the truck and aim at the approaching SUV, knowing I have plenty of ammo left. I take my time, waiting for the vehicle to get closer so I have a better chance of hitting a tire. Redmond fires at the creature, and I fire at the SUV. The SUV swerves into a ditch, and the black dot spirals out of the sky like a helicopter in a death spiral.
You hit it!
I exclaim, getting to my feet.
I winged it. We better get over there, quick!
I jump behind the wheel and hit the gas. Redmond stays in the back with his rifle, ready for when we have a clear shot at the thing. It's almost over, I say to myself. But something tells me things are going to get worse before they get better. As we close in on some sort of structure across the road, I realize that we're approaching the entrance to Yellowstone. Thankfully, this is just an entrance, and the popular attractions are still a ways away. The westbound lane splits into 4 as it comes to a line of ticket booths with gates where people pay their entrance fee to get into the park. There's one sedan at the middle gate, but I see no signs of the ticket booth operators. The eastbound lane is unblocked because it's the exit lane for people to leave the park. I swerve into the exit lane, thankful it's empty, and cross into the park. 50 yards later, I slam on the brakes and come to a stop. About 200 yards away, a group of people block the road, staring toward us, all of them wearing those awful grimaces. There's a parking area to the right of these people, where there are bathrooms and several picnic tables. I count 8 vehicles in the parking area, including 2 park ranger SUVs.
They're protecting the creature,
Redmond says.
The damn thing's got human shields. We just need to get within 20 yards of them,
I say, easing forward. The sound of crunching metal comes from behind me, and I look into my side mirror to see the sedan at the gate surging forward.
Watch your ass,
Redmond calls again. Up ahead, the 2 park ranger SUVs rev, coming out of the parking area. We have 1 vehicle speeding at us from behind and 2 from ahead.
Go!
Redmond says. I hit the gas. A moment later, the 50 cal booms out, and a large hole appears in the windshield of one of the approaching park ranger SUVs. The vehicle slows to a coast, continuing forward along the road. Gripping the steering wheel with both hands, I realize I haven't fastened my seatbelt. It's too late now. My eyes jump from side mirrors to the windshield, mind reeling as I think of a way to survive this. Redmond fires again, but the other Ranger SUV swerves, and a hole appears in the left side of the windshield. It keeps coming. There's no time now. I have to make a move.
Hold on!
I shout. I tap the brake pedal and turn the wheel left as the Ranger SUV closes in. It's too little, too late. The SUV slams into the truck. The impact sends the truck spinning on the road. For a brief moment, I feel like the thing is going to flip, but it doesn't. It comes to rest near the left side of the road. I look up into the rearview mirror, not seeing any sign of Redmond. But before I can process this information, I look out my window and see the sedan from the gate closing in. I'm whipped sideways as the sedan T-bones the truck directly on my door. My head smashes into something. I feel the structure of my left leg change as I'm slammed around inside the truck cab. The world goes blurry. A deafening silence settles on my ringing ears as I sit up in my seat, trying to get my bearings. The ticking of cooling engines and the hiss of liquid escaping a small hole soon replace the silence. I look at my left hand, noticing that my thumb is facing the wrong direction.
Redmond?
I say, looking around. Then I remember the device. I spin and look into the back, seeing that all 3 components are still attached to the battery. My semi-auto rifle is in the passenger seat. I try to open my door, but it's too damaged. I crawl across, grabbing my rifle and opening the other door. As I try to stand up outside the truck, my left leg gives out and I collapse. A wave of sickness rolls through me as I look down to see that my leg is broken. The lower portion of it sits at an oblique angle to my knee. A woman starts screaming from nearby, and I think it's someone in the sedan that rammed me. I gaze ahead, seeing one of the vehicles from the parking area is now parked in the road. Several people are gathered around something, loading it up into the truck bed. It's the creature, I realize. They're maybe 40 yards away, so the device isn't countering the thing's effects. They're loading it up into a truck so it can escape. It just isn't driving people insane now. It's controlling them with eerie precision.
Redmond, are you there?
I reach up, realizing my earpiece is gone. Using the truck to help me, I climb up and balance on my right foot. I look back toward the site of the first crash, where the Ranger's SUV hit the truck. I spot Redmond lying in the road amid a pool of blood. My jaw clenches and I look back toward the truck with the creature in it. It's getting ready to leave, to head to a more popular part of the park, and maybe, from there, to a city. I can't let it get away. I reach down and grab my rifle, bringing it up and aiming it at the vehicle. The tailgate is up, so I don't have a clear shot at the creature. As if it knows what I'm thinking, the creature directs the people to get between me and the truck. Men, women, and children line up, looking at me with terrified sneers on their faces. Redmond's voice speaks in my head.
End it now, or more people will die. You know what you have to do, Coggins, so fucking do it.
If I didn't know better, I would think he was still alive, talking to me through the radio. But he's not. He's dead. And now it's the goddamn creature's turn. I fire first at the rear window of the truck, hoping to hit the driver. I put 3 rounds through the window and then change my aim, putting bullets through the human shields. They drop like puppets with cut strings, allowing me to fire at the tailgate. I put the rest of my magazine through the tailgate and then turned back to the truck, searching for another mag. Something catches my eye in the truck bed. It's Redmon's 50 cal. Somehow, it stayed in the back of the truck through both crashes. I toss my rifle and grab the 50, spinning around to see that the truck is still there. I watch as a woman pulls a dead man out of the driver's seat and then climbs behind the wheel. The damn thing is still alive. I raise the rifle and aim at the back window through the scope. On an exhale, I pull the trigger, blasting through the seat back and the woman. A splatter of red hits the windshield. There's no one left around the truck. I shift my aim and fire another round through the center of the tailgate. I try to fire a third time, but the rifle clicks empty. Reversing the large weapon, I grip the barrel and use it as a crutch as I hobble toward the truck. It's only when I'm beyond 20 yards from the device that I realize the creature is still alive. I can feel it prodding at my mind, but it's weak and I resist, keeping Talavera and Redmon in my mind, allowing that to drive my justified rage. At the truck, I pull down the tailgate and look at the creature. It looks like a giant scorpion fly, complete with the curved scorpion tail and everything. 2 of its 4 wings are damaged, and there's a large chunk torn from its abdomen, probably from my recent shot with the 50 cal. Yellowish goo leaks from the injury. It looks up at me with its bulbous brown-black eyes, its antennae twitching. I can still feel it worming its way inside my head, messing with my emotions and perception. I bring the 50 cal up and smash its head to bits with the rifle butt. That worming sensation disappears, and I come fully back to myself. I smash it again, crushing the body. That yellow goop splashes out and onto my shirt. It smells like the dumpster behind a fast food restaurant. I keep smashing it until there's nothing left but the spindly legs and little bits of exoskeleton. Huffing, I turn around and sit on the tailgate. After a moment, I hear the sound of a helicopter approaching. There's our air support. I shake my head and realize, for the first time ever, that I actually do want to retire. It turns out that Dr. Mazur couldn't handle the guilt of being forced to kill his own colleagues when the creature escaped. He took his own life in the middle of our operation. That's why I couldn't contact him over the radio. It was also why our air support was delayed. I'm in a hospital in Bozeman, and Cass just wheeled Talavera in. He's gonna be all right. We're all still getting used to the idea that we'll never see Redmon again. But there's a silver lining to that story. A day ago, after I got out of surgery for my leg, I got a call from a lawyer. The guy played a recording that Redmon had given him some months ago.
If you're hearing this, I'm dead and you're not,
Redmon said in the recording.
Good for you. I just hope I didn't die suffering in some goddamn hospital. As I knew it would, my smoking caught up with me. Lung cancer, and it's too far gone to do anything about. Well, the doc said chemo was an option, but I was never going to do that. No goddamn way. Anyway, I didn't want to burden you with this crap until I was sure what I was going to do about it. But if you're hearing this, it means that decision has been taken out of my hands. Thank Christ for that. I just hope I died with my boots on and my 50 in my hand. See you in the next one, buddy. Oh, and don't forget, watch your ass.
Both Cass and Talavera received similar messages, although I get the feeling Cass's was much longer and more detailed than Talavera's or mine. Cass was always his favorite, like a daughter he never had. Now we're all sitting around in my hospital room, talking about Redmon, sharing funny stories about his grumpy old ass. Cass's phone rings and she picks up.
Hello?
She says.
Yeah, yes. Okay, send me the address. Got it.
She hangs up and looks at me.
Got a call. Should be an easy one though. Another Sasquatch has gotten loose.
I smile.
Oh yeah, you can handle that one yourself. Those things are dumb as hell.
Cass stands up.
I'll be back in a couple of days at most. Good luck,
Talavera says.
Watch your ass,
I say, doing my best impression of Redmon. Cass leaves the room chuckling. Thanks for listening.